that wasn't the problem. So they put it back together, supposedly told our environmental engineer that they weren't able to fix it, but they did supposedly what they were supposed to do as part of that contract, which is this breakaway. So that's why when Steve takes it apart, he's gonna inspect the breakaway and take pictures, and if it's not new, we're gonna ask for some of our money back. So, that's kind of where that is.
Yeah, all right, so that's like this very small summary. If the hydrant was broke, did they say that they could fix that hydrant, or was it?
They
time and
they said
materials?
that for the price they quoted us last year, that they suspected the problem was the breakaway.
Okay.
And so they said they would fix that, but they didn't guarantee that that was the problem. And if that wasn't the problem, they were gonna give us another cost proposal for whatever the problem was. They claim they told Rick. He says he didn't get anything from them, and it just kinda got lost in the shuffle. So that's why we're gonna investigate.
Yeah, I mean, when they told Rick, they say they verbally told him this, or they sent an email, or?
I think verbal. Right.
Yeah, usually something like that isn't an email.
Correct,
Quotas.
right. So, yeah.
So was it a bit below the bidding limits or something?
Yeah, it was 7,000.
Yeah, okay.
And the board approved it last year, or even the year before. It took quite a while for them to get out there and do the work. All right, so that's that one. Well, number 2 at Perk Crossing, there's some issues with the pump there. So Matt's working with Garber to get a replacement pump for that well. We're hoping to get that in the next few days. And then Matt gave an update on the water booster pumps and how the impellers are bad. And that's on your agenda tonight for approval later. One other thing that I just wanted to mention, earlier this week, with the storms, we did lose our internet connection. And it took quite a while to get it back. And so Comcast came in and they switched out our modem. They said our modem was outdated and we needed a new modem. One thing that came up is it may make sense, since we have Windstream substation right here, that we may want to have Windstream as a backup or Comcast as a backup. Maybe have 2 services so that if one goes down, we have a better opportunity to have the second one kick in. Because we were without, our telephone is connected to our internet. So when the internet goes down, nobody can reach us here at the building. So we may want to consider that. I mean, it's an extra $100 a month basically to do that, but that might be something we want to consider in the future.
How often have we lost the internet? Like,
A few times. I mean, it tends to just happen when it's stormy, right?
Big storms that go out.
Yeah, but the problem
Typically
is
not
that's
small.
typically when people might need to reach us. You know what I mean? Like if there's a tree on the road or something, they'll call us and they can't get through. So, I mean, they can leave a message and then the message goes to email and we can sometimes get our email on our phones, but, it's all a little inconsistent. So it just might be something we want to talk about a little bit more
okay.
down the road.
So you said $100 for Windstream, did you contact Verizon to get a price?
No.
Verizon has lines
Did they?
Yeah, do they?
on Big Road.
Okay, we can do that.
I don't know all of Big Road, but I know they have lines on part of Big Road at this point.
Yeah, we can check that. Sure.
So this is Comcast you're having a problem with?
Yeah.
Usually they have a fail-safe where if they lose Wi-Fi or internet service here, they can transfer that over to a cell phone. Calls can automatically be directed to a cell phone.
I mean,
So without having-
messages come to our cell phones through
Yeah, there's
email,
all-
but, I mean, we can look into that.
Yeah.
So we have, okay, so I'm aware of that. It can happen where if you have the business platform,
Mhm.
and I don't know if that's the platform we have here, that it can once you lose your internet service, it can transfer over to a dedicated phone number,
Okay.
cellular.
Okay, well, we can look into that too.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the manager's report?
That's it.
Okay. All right, old business. Resolution 2023-06, designation of chief administrative officer for pension.
So this was before you back in May. There was some concern about only having the manager as the chief administrative officer, and concern about my name being in the resolution. So I worked with Ken, and what we did is we took my name out of it and just put as manager is the designated person. But rather than making the chairman the alternate, we went ahead and just put language in there that basically says the board will determine who the alternate will be. And the reason for that is the chief administrative officer does a yearly report, presents it to you, the board, and the board votes and approves that. So if you're in this position, it gets a little awkward as far as who's doing what. So that's how the language got changed.
Okay. All right. Questions or comments? Okay, good. Any comments on this item from the floor? Okay, thank you. All right, then I will make a motion to approve resolution 2023-06, designation of chief administrative officer for pension, designating the township manager as chief administrative officer. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Authorization to purchase EV charger and authorization for R&R Electric to extend upgraded power extension.
So last month, we talked about this EV charger and had expressed concern about the cost of it and recouping that cost over time. After that meeting, I was able to find a grant available from the state. It's actually a rebate for the amount of $7,000. But it's based on the assumption that we purchase the EV charger. The cost for the purchase plus the 5-year plan to have software and all of that is $12,433. So if you subtract $7,000 from that, it's costing the township about $5,000 over 5 years. Additionally, we got a quote from R&R Electric to run electrical service to the building and then out to service the EV charger. The reason for that is it turns out we don't have enough power in the building. Like, we're maxing out our power. So we're sort of using this, if you want to move forward with it, as an opportunity to upgrade the power to the building and then be able to service the EV charger. But also it would be enough power to also accommodate our future plans for upgrades to the building in the public works area. So for that, we have been awarded a $2,000 grant that could go towards the $4,235. So overall, it's estimated that once we receive the rebate and the grant, this will cost about $8,000 over 5 years, which, based on our last conversation, we think that we could probably recoup by charging for the use of it. So at this point, you know, if you want to move forward, we can. If not, we can not worry about it and move on, either way.
And we can, it is able to charge folks that use it. Right, we're not paying for the electric for people to use this thing.
Right, we would pass it on to people charging. So people would have to basically like use their credit card to initiate a charge. And then we would charge them the cost of our electric plus whatever we decide in addition to that to be.
We set the rate.
Yeah, we set the rate, exactly.
Okay. All right. Questions, comments?
I'm good with getting this going.
Okay. Comments on this item on the floor? Terry, you wanna come up?
Bruce Freeze, Columbia Road. How long is it gonna take to recoup that?
Well, it depends on what they set the rate at. I mean, basically, it will, after we get the rebate and the grant, it will cost the township $8,000. And we'll have coverage for software and warranty for 5 years. So we would basically divide that 8,000 over 5 years, kind of make an assumption about how much we think it will get used, and then try to sort of back into a charge that would cover that.
So there won't be any additional cost
Correct,
after that's paid for,
correct, right.
but we don't know how long.
Right, it depends on how we set the fee. Like if the board wants to set the charge to use the charger a little more aggressively so that we can recoup our money faster, they could do that, or they could do it more slowly, kind of over the course of time.
So what happens after 5 years? Like, what's the software fees and?
So we would have to see what they are then, at that time, but I can tell you what they are now, if
Okay.
that helps. All right, so we've got a 5-year prepaid commercial cloud plan, which is about $3,000. There's a 5-year prepaid assurance plan, which basically supports the structure, so if there's a problem, and that's about $2,500. And then there's an install station activation and configuration service fee. It looks like that's a one-time fee of $332. So 3, 4, 5, like just under $5,000 or $6,000 for those items. You figure over 5 years, so it costs about $1,000 a year probably for the cloud plan and the warranty, basically.
All right. How much use do we think we're gonna see of this?
Well, we kind of talked about this last time, you know, we don't know, and that's why I gave you an article that was written by PSATs. They seem to think that there's a pretty significant amount of demand, especially in more rural communities. You know, and we had talked at the last meeting about, you know, people who live in Perk Crossing who are running extension cords out to their electric cars. They might find this particularly valuable to be able to bring their car up, maybe leave it overnight, charge it, and then they have a full charge that could get them a week, or depending on the community. So, you know, but we don't know. So we're gonna.
Plus, it's gonna get posted on an app that everybody can see that there's a charger here.
Right.
Okay.
Anybody with an electric car, you just go, oh, wait a minute, we have a charger here.
Yeah, and the thinking is, because it's a park and people might come for an hour or two to use the playground or to walk the trails, it's a little more appealing for them to sort of tie the two together.
Okay.
But there's no guarantee, we don't know. But demand is growing, and so that's kind of where it is. Like I said, I mean, you know, if you guys want to go ahead and move forward, we can. If not, that's fine too. You know, this is kind of where it's at.
Right now, most charging stations you find, there's somebody there.
Okay. All right. I guess so, what I'm trying to wrap my head around is how quickly, I know we can adjust these rates, right? But, I mean, it's gotta be fair, right? We don't have to charge
Right.
something exorbitant.
Right.
And if it's fair, how long it's going to take to recoup the cost of installing this thing?
Exactly, it depends on the use. So, you know, basically the idea is we'll install it, you know, we'll make a educated estimate on what we think is a good price to charge. We'll see what the use is, we'll monitor it, and then make adjustments as time goes by, depending on, you know, how it's producing.
Right. I mean, I'd like to see that information before making a decision on it, but if you guys are comfortable with it, you can make that motion. But I don't,
Well, what information are you looking for?
I'd like to see a better estimate on what we think the payoff, like the time that we think this is going to come together.
Okay, well, I guess last month, we went over, it's 9.1 cents per kilowatt for the electric, and we kind of run through a bunch of numbers. Last month, I mean, we can do that again. If we don't install, I mean, the rebate's good for 60 days. The PICO grant expires June 9th if everything's not done. So, not that I'm trying to put pressure, or I said September 9th, apologize. So we have, basically a month and a half that, we need to, if we want to take advantage of these. Otherwise, I would say, let's just not worry about it, and down the road, if there's other grant opportunities, we can look into.
And the rebate's $7,000,
Correct.
and our total install cost, you think is gonna be
So
after the grant's taken out?
well, I was estimating it's probably gonna be about $8,000, with R&R Electric. There might be some additional small charges with the installation of the actual unit, so I think it's roughly that amount.
Any other thoughts?
So, somebody that has an electric car, what do they normally pay? Did you look in to see if anybody, other townships, what their profit line is for that? So if
No.
somebody charges their vehicle for 2 hours here, what can you expect? Because you need roughly about $130 a month over 5 years to pay this, right?
Right.
So is that an
Correct.
obtainable number? That's, I guess, my question that I'm asking compared to what other people have.
So I didn't contact other municipalities. So, like I said, it's, I think 9.1 cents per kilowatt. I think we figured that for like an hour or two, I think it's usually maybe like $3 to $4 for somebody to charge on a level 2 charger for a couple hours. Might be $3 to $4.
3 to $4 an hour?
For what? For 2 hours? Well, yeah, I think it's usually like it depends. It really varies.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just trying to get
yeah.
an idea because it's new. I don't know much about it.
Mhm. Right.
I would like to see it, but I don't want to see it if it's going to cost a lot of money in the end. So if it's $3 or $4 an hour, what's the profit line on that the township would be able to make to pay the product
Well,
off?
so if we assume we need to make $130 a month, and let's say we charge $3 an hour, we would need to see charging on that
2 hours.
about 40 hours a month, right? 40, 50 hours a month.
Yeah, but that $4 isn't, that's a whole number. That's not profit line, right?
True,
That's
but
your, because you still owe an energy company their kilowatt rate.
they're cut, right. So maybe you could double that. Let's assume, we charge a double. If we know that our electric cost is 9.1 cents per kilowatt, and if we decide to charge double that, per kilowatt to recoup money, then we might need to see 80 hours of charging a month.
Then, I mean, they have these chargers up at Giant in Harleysville. I mean, if you were charging me double, I'd go up there.
What do they charge?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just saying, you're.
Well, at Giant, it's free.
Is it really?
Typically, yeah.
Some of them are, not all of them.
Not all of them.
No.
The one
Because,
in King of Prussia is
well,
free.
the thing is, not all Giants own the properties.
Mm.
So when they put them in, whoever owns the property is getting the profits on the chargers. They're not all.
Gotcha.
Teresa, what's the most you've paid since you are an electric car owner in this room?
So when I do a level 3 charge at like the premium outlets, I will regularly pay $12 to $14.
Okay, so we have at least comparison model, right?
Yeah, except it's a level 3, so I'm only sitting there for 40 minutes, right? So, but with the level 2s,
So $4 to
I've paid,
$5.
yeah, I know I've paid at least like $3 an hour to charge. And I usually get about 40 miles per hour on my charge.
And you only charge one car at a time?
2,
Two?
yeah, so it's got 2 outlets on it.
Okay. And is it upgradable if there's more of a demand?
Yeah, I mean, we could buy another station, yeah.
And then it's gonna cost us about, we're looking at, if we continue the warranty and the software, it's gonna cost us about $5,000 and $500, or $5,500 a year.
No, $1,000 a year.
It's gonna be over 5 years.
Oh, this is-
$5,000
That was a
5 years.
5-year, right.
And in 5 years, this charge is gonna be outdated.
Yeah, it might be, right.
Guaranteed, it's gonna be outdated. You're gonna upgrade to a different charger.
Or we'll just be done with
Or
it. Like
yeah.
if it just didn't make sense, you know, the goal would have been to make back the $8,000 we spent on it. And then if it, you know, if it just wasn't used much or, you know, if it was too much of a hassle, then we can just decommission it if we want.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, we could vote on this in August, correct? And still be under the deadline?
We wouldn't have enough time,
They need to
honestly. I mean,
install-
because we've got to have our guys dig a trench, we gotta get the electrician, we gotta order the unit. So I think it's really cutting it close.
You gotta remember, we're gonna do some of the electrical upgrade about
Right,
for the building. We're just adding that price to the charge.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, right? So we're sort of piggybacking an electrical upgrade to the building
To run
onto
a
this
small line
project.
out to,
Yeah,
we know there's a power problem with the building to get it, so we're trying to do something at the same time.
Okay. All right.
So all that $4,000 isn't just for the charge.
And that's also spread over 5 years as well.
well, I calculated that number into that overall number,
Right.
the 4235, but it's a good point. I mean, most of that cost,
So if you
It's not
take, you could take like
really
$3,000 out of that cost and just put $1,000 into the charger. Because basically that's what it's gonna cost to actually hook the charger up to the
Right.
building. If you wanna look at it that way. So then your costs are actually lower of what you're actually paying for the charger.
Any other comments on this?
I think I think it'd be good for the township. Well, you know, how my feeling is I don't like to see bad people come in and start, so I think what Tracy says, or y'all, if it seems deemed to be a nuisance, then remove it. But I think for now, it's moving the right step.
Thank you.
Would it be available 24/7?